In the meantime, let's get our next guest on, who's an absolute talent for Stan Sport, FC expert. We're talking about the Bozza. Mark Bosnich, good afternoon.
Good afternoon, gentlemen. Thank you for that lovely introduction. How are you, Fletchy?
I'm going good, Boz. Now, I understand that you're somewhere exotic because we can hear the horn of a boat. Where are you?
I'm not, my friend. I'm not. I'm just on my balcony, but I just heard a horn of a boat. So
Yes.
I was just complaining to Marky and to Brooks, if that horn doesn't stop, then something would have to been done. I don't want to say on radio what I was going to do. I think it's quite apt. But good to speak to you both. I can feel the excitement in both your voices for the NRL to start. And just as though everybody will sense the excitement in my voice because the Champions League resumes tomorrow morning with the round of 16.
Yeah, you can get that, by the way. The UEFA Champions League live, exclusive and in 4K on Stan Sport. Boz, the Mark Bosnich Cup. Manchester United take on Villa.
Yes, they did. They did on the weekend. Unfortunately for Aston Villa, despite the fact they had a glut of chances, they really couldn't put them away. And Manchester United, that was their fourth successive victory in all competitions, and much maligned this season, understandably so. But they had shades of the old Manchester United. You know, soaked up the pressure. The goalkeeper, who's come under a lot of criticism, justifiably so, because of his performances. But he was absolutely excellent for them. And like I said, Aston Villa, really, every time any type of expectation has come about them this season in terms of people going, oh, they're a real opportunity, they fell over again. But look, you know, the bottom line is, in terms of Aston Villa, they're only 8 points off the lead still. So I still don't think that the Championships, or the Premier League, whatever you want to call it, is beyond them. Same with Spurs. I got a lot of stick in England because I said that yesterday, but I really think at this stage, as long as it's below 9 points, I really still think that you are within a shout. And let's not forget as well, in terms of the overall spectrum, we're speaking about the Champions League. So Manchester City and Arsenal will resume the Champions League, their pursuits in that. Liverpool, Aston Villa are both in European competitions as well. The only one who hasn't got European competition is Spurs. So they will have a free week pretty much now to the end of the season. And that's really, really important as people and teams become much more fatigued.
What are we looking forward to tomorrow, Boz? Or is it tomorrow? No, Wednesday.
Yeah, tomorrow morning. Tomorrow morning. Yeah, you're right. Absolutely spot on. Well, the two games tomorrow morning, RB Leipzig and Real Madrid. And Copenhagen is the game that we're concentrating on versus Manchester City. The quick one on Leipzig, Real Madrid. Real Madrid's still one of the favourites of the tournament. Leipzig travelling okay in Germany. They're doing nothing spectacular. So Real Madrid will be favourites in that game. Jude Bellingham, who signed from Borussia Dortmund, Englishman, has been absolutely outstanding for them. And in our game, the reigning champions, Manchester City, are away to Copenhagen of Denmark. Now, funny thing is, for Copenhagen, they haven't played competitive football since the last match day. So for nearly 2 months, because of the weather in Denmark, they have a winter break. They have what's called an Atlantic Cup, where they go to Portugal with some of the other teams just to keep themselves in shape. So they'll be really fresh. Now, whether or not that will work in their favour or not remains to be seen. Manchester United will go into the game heavy favourites, but as you both know from your own playing careers, when you're underdogs and you've got absolutely nothing to lose and you're going to be playing in front of your home fans, it's a very dangerous game for Manchester City. So they've got to be careful. They played each other in the group stage this time last season. In Denmark, it was 0-0. Manchester City accounted for them quite comfortably at home. So it's a big game because Manchester City, with all the games that they've got coming up, they'll want to make sure they get a good result in this be leg. So the second leg can be pretty much a formality. But we've seen in the group stage, Copenhagen with Galatasaray, Manchester United, and even Bayern Munich, they push very hard. There are no easy beats, especially at home.
Hey, Boz, just look at your Twitter sphere here, and there was a comment around, for all City's dominance of possession and territory, not a serious save for Pickford to make. So are you a little bit nervous about Manchester City's attack?
Not so much the amount of possession and dominance they had, and that was what I tweeted about on the weekend against Everton. And to be fair to Everton, they set themselves up really, really good in the first half. But their manager, Pep Guardiola, he's always evolving. He's always trying to stay a step ahead. And one of the main reasons the two main players he signed were Guardiola, who's a centre back, or a left-sided player, the Croatian, and also another player called Jeremy Doku. He signed from Rennes in France. They're both very good on carrying the ball, like to basically take on a player or take on two players. And why he did this is because the other teams around the world now are coming up with systems to stop Manchester City. And one of them is to basically stay in such good formation that it's nearly impossible to penetrate the passing lane, which what Pep Guardiola's teams used to do. What these two players have added, especially Doku, is the fact that they can take on players. So that forced the opposition to bring other players across. It's kind of like with rugby league, that if somebody is so dominant, say in the centres, that they have to double up on defence. Well, if you double up on defence, especially if there's going to be an extra player at the other side of the pitch, and they've been doing that very, very well. Haaland and De Bruyne are two magnificent players, as we know. They've missed a lot of the winter through injury, especially De Bruyne. They're both back as well. So it's going to be a difficult task, like I said, for Copenhagen. But we've seen them do it before, specifically this season in the same competition. It's just that I'm just going to see how that break, how they'll cope with that break. Because, like I said, it could be a godsend. It could be brilliant. They're fresh and they're hungry, but also you might be a little bit rusty. And being rusty against someone like Man City, you might be 3 or 4 down at half time. This is what's going to be really interesting.
Hey, Bozzarino, tell me this. When you get into the Champions League, I want to ask, and it's a question without notice, money-wise, what is it worth? I know you can't put an exact figure on it, but what is it worth to your club? Is it TV rights or the gate?
I think it's a minimum. I think of each club. I think a minimum. They released it the other day. If I knew, next time I come on, I'll get the exact figures for you. But I'm sure they said it was a minimum of 20 million euros for each club, and then it depends how far you go. So you get winning, obviously winnings as well. And look, sometimes out of something bad comes something good. The proposed Super League, which fell over a year and a half ago, but subsequently was found by the European Court the European Union Court that it was legal to have. How do they put it? It was actually legal for the Super League to want to exist. So in other words, prospective clubs couldn't get banned from the current Champions League just by speaking to them. I still don't think it wasn't passed as legal. But anyway, as we know, the fans revolted and all that. That gave UEFA, the governing body, a little bit of a, you could say a little bit of a proverbial kick up the backside to increase the prize money more. So I think someone like Manchester City, who were champions last season, I think they made in the range of something like, and I'll get those figures for you, but I'm sure I read it was something in the range of 100 million euros, something like that, to and that's with like I said, bonuses and the fact that they're playing live on TV. Well, just to put it in perspective, so as we all did over here yesterday, well, majority of us did, not all of us. Let's be honest. We watched the Super Bowl, fantastic event. Very disappointed for the 49ers, but those Kaiser Chiefs, that Mahomes, are absolute class act. But that rated yesterday. The ratings just come out 120 million that's 120 million people watching in America. So if you put on, say, another 50 million worldwide, which is what the total was last year, so that's about 170 million people watched that worldwide yesterday. But the Champions League final of last year between Manchester City and Inter Milan got 455 million people worldwide watching it. So it compares up. But this is one of the reasons, because the wages wise and what the clubs get money wise, this is one of the reasons a lot of the American owners who also own NFL teams were kicking up a stink, because the lack of money that they were getting in the Champions League in comparison to the Super Bowl, when really they get nearly 2.5 times minimum the amount of viewers. So, but I'll get those figures for you next time, Fletch.
Good on your question, good on your boss, man. My other question is there any soccer players, any footballers, either from England or anywhere else, going out with a Taylor Swift like? I know Shakira was going out with that gentleman, but that sort of ended badly. Is there
right at this moment in time? Yeah, right at this moment in time, I don't know. I mean, during my day, obviously, and my ex-teammate David Beckham went out with Victoria. Yeah, Victoria.
She's nowhere near as big as Taylor. No. Taylor's
maybe not now, but at that time she was the biggest thing. Sort of, the Spice Girls were like, they were like the female Beatles that time.
I understand, but individually, she's nowhere near.
Taylor. Individually, yeah. I'm not a real music buff, but I'll ask.
Yes, you are.
I'll ask for you.
You are, Brian, you are a buff. You like the Kaiser Chiefs. I just heard you say the Kaiser Chiefs. Tourist. This is the Kaiser.
Is it?
That was a slip of the tongue, Boz. I think you meant to say Kansas Chiefs, but you said the Kaiser Chiefs, which we do like.
Kaiser Chiefs, Kansas Chiefs, tomatoes, tomatoes.
Yes.
Really matter.
Hey, so Brian, let me ask you
good.
this, and I'll get Boz to chime in. Given the population at the time, scale, etc., globally, do you think that Taylor Swift and Kelsey are bigger than Posh and Beckham at the same time?
No, not together.
Together?
Together.
Who's bigger?
Becks. The Beckhams. But
Really?
Taylor blows Posh.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
Yeah, David
but as a couple, you're still on...
Power couple.
Yes.
Definitely Bonnie and Nathan Hindmarsh. And then it goes the Beckham. Yeah, Beckham's together.
Okay.
Do you agree with that? Boz? Is that a fair statement? Together?
That seems right. Well, you know your music better than me, but pretty much, I would say out of the four of them, I would say David Beckham. But I am biased, it must be said. But yeah, I would say that. Yeah.
Yeah, David Beckham's more famous than
we're very lucky in terms of our sport, in terms of because of it's it's the number one sport worldwide. So we're very lucky. So automatically, if there's a football involved, it sort of reaches more people.
Definitely.
But you know what, music? I mean, that's huge as well. I mean. That's absolutely massive, yeah.
Well, tell Boz the stat. What the Taylor Swift effect was?
What's that?
About the Super Bowl numbers went up by 111 million.
That's right.
So I'm wondering, was that the same effect?
No, it didn't go up 111 million.
Didn't go 111
went
million.
Up about 11 million.
Sorry, 11 million.
7%, which is a huge number on a record.
11 million. But I'm wondering, were the Spice Girl fans then attracted to soccer? Because when Posh started going out with old Bexy.
Well, I will give a little tip, and that's to all sports. I've actually said this to a lot of administrators over here for a long time. The massive, I would say, not the massive, because it was always big. The first division before the Premier League was always big. Anyone who travelled and went to Changi Airport in Singapore would see would sit down and see the old first division was everywhere. Remember, we used to have it here on ABC, but the Premier League went to a different level. And it went to a different level, in my opinion, in the 90s because of several reasons. One of them being that the interest that women got into the Premier League. And a lot of that was through things like you just spoke about. That's a very important thing, is as we all know, well, the majority of us know, that if the woman and the kids want to go somewhere, you're going.
100%.
Yep.
And that's what, Boz, we were talking yesterday with Matty Johns about the impact that the NRLW has had on the National Rugby League, because the female interest and participation has gone through the roof.
Well, exactly right. We know that from our sport as well. So it's 1,000,000%, yeah.
We need an A-League player to start going out with Madonna. Her Madonna's on
contrive it. Let's
contrive it. Imagine. Imagine we need a. I can't even name an A-League player, but Boz, I'm sure he could. A single A-League player could go out with a Madonna, for example, because she's looking. Yeah,
Bessart Barisha.
She's on the hunt.
Let's get Bessart Barisha.
I think he's done.
Is he?
And our man Rhino Grant, he's taken.
He's off the market.
Yeah.
Hey, Bozza, those in the mix according to the markets: Man City, Bayern Munich, Arsenal, Real Madrid. Then there's a bit of a free fall outside of Man City, Bayern Munich, Arsenal, and Real Madrid. Who could you see stunning everyone and making it way through to the Champions League final?
Well, on Thursday morning, the game that we've got is one of those teams. So that's Paris Saint-Germain. They're really making a big push to be called just Paris. So we'll just call them Paris. They're coming up against the Spanish side called Real Sociedad, which they should account for no problem. But there's always that PSG effect, as everyone refers to it in the game, where they tend to sometimes, when they look as though they've got everything sewn up, they throw things away. So they got a new manager this season, in Luis Enrique, who was a fabulous player for both Barcelona and Real Madrid, and he's actually won the competition before as a manager with Barcelona as well. So he's got plenty of experience, and he's not scared of the big players in terms of having to make decisions. But I think is a good thing for them, because there was a time there when it seemed as though the players were just making all the decisions, and it really didn't work for them. So there's them, and there's also Barcelona, who I'd never rule out. They're not playing until next week. They come up against Napoli. But those two teams are really good outside bet. So especially PSG, especially in the fact, I just spoke about their manager, but they've got arguably one of the best players in the world in Kylian Mbappe as well, who's absolutely lightning and rapid, and he can give any defense in the world, as we've seen at World Cups, problems. So, and the fact is that there is a chance. There's been rumours recently that he may be headed for for somewhere else, but possibly Real Madrid. So you never know. This may be his swan song, which is always a massive motivation for any player.
Bozinator, I'm going to have my alarm set on Friday morning because our team, the Young Boys, versus Sporting at the Wankdorf in the Europa League.
I knew.
Then they have Middlefart in the Swiss League the next day. I'd like to see Young Boys v Middlefart at Wankdorf. That would be my ultimate morning.
That could be arranged. Don't worry about that. You're right. So we've got the Europa League and the Conference League for the other two, the second and third tier competitions coming back on Friday morning. And whereas it's the round of 16 and obviously knockout in the Champions League, with the Europa League and the European Conference League, the teams that finish first in all their groups are into the round of 16. This is what's called the knockout stage. It's the last 32. And Young Boys come up against Sporting of Lisbon. You're right. Yep. The game that we're going to concentrate on is AC Milan versus the French side.
Fair enough. Fair call.
But there's some really good games there. But Young Boys, like I said, they were in a very difficult group, but they ended up getting third place. So they're in, like I said, into that playoff, and they're a very, very difficult team to beat at home. But the thing is, they're coming up against a team from Portugal, who are second in the league and a very, very good side. You can say they're equal first, only second on goal difference to Bayern Munich. So they're a very, very good side, and it's going to be difficult for them. But anything's possible at the Wankdorf, as you know, Fletch.
Anything is impossible. You close your eyes, and I just think of Wankdorf. What about if I can put you on the spot? Boz, I understand you were out at Pink. What was your favourite song of Pink?
Oh, well, look, okay. Pink, nearly every song. I don't know the name of it, but nearly every one of them was
Could you hum it?
It was a great show. And what she did at the end when she went on this, that cable they have, Kanye, that cable they have normally, they have the sort of the camera that, with the four. Mm-hmm. Yeah, she actually went on that herself. I don't know if she
loves that, doesn't she?
She was going around the whole stadium. Yeah, absolutely around the whole stadium. But you can say the epitaph to that story was my little boy, who's been training very hard, to be fair, but he's only turned 7. After the first song, he just said, can he just go inside where the box was? And can he lay down? Then I thought, here we go. And I thought as soon as he laid down, I had to get him a blanket. And the people from the SCG Trust were fantastic. They gave him a blanket. He pretty much slept through the whole concert. So it was very difficult for me. And I didn't want. It was really, my wife and my daughter. They're really Pink fanatics. So I let them sort of go outside and really enjoy the atmosphere. But I was inside pretty much with him for the whole night. So, but I was going to the window and back. But I wanted to make sure that he was okay. There you go.
Bozza, once again, on fire. The board's lit up. They're absolutely loving you, Bozza. Quick one, Parramatta, your gut feel they finish where this year?
Well, I'm going to be positive and say win it. And if not, my number 2 team, the Roosters, win it. There you go.
Okay. And you know what, Brian?
Yeah.
See, Cleary got the Panthers home. Mahomes got the Chiefs home. Our man Bozza just spoke about Mbappe with Paris Saint-Germain. I'm in. I'm in.